What's going on, world? It's me, Andre Cat, not here from West Palm Beach, Florida. So, what I'm going to be doing in this video is I'm going to be marking up my charts with you guys, and I'm just going to be just drawing up my zone, my supply and demand zones, mainly like my session highs and low zones and stuff like that, and doing some markups, getting ready for London session, and also getting ready for tomorrow's New York session. So. But before I dive into that and start marking up charts, if you guys want to be able to copy my trades automatically over to your account, learn my strategy, be able to trade with me live, I only charge a one-time fee of $500, and you can message me on Telegram if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're watching this on Instagram. You can just shoot me a DM and let me know, hey Andre, I want access to all what you're offering. I want to copy your trades. I want to hop on your live trading sessions, trade with you live, and I want to, copy your trades basically. Like I said, copying my trades is all it means is that every time I take a trade on my account, those same trades will be automatically copied over to your account, hands free, and it's only a one-time fee of $500. Can't beat that at all. So yeah, let's go ahead and mark up some charts here. Okay. So normally, what I like to do. All right, let me actually delete these stuff here. And normally what I like, well, I'm going to kind of show you an example of what happened today. You see this zone right here? I usually draw my session zones like around from 8 a.m. I look for the highs and the lows from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So whatever the highest point between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m., that's going to be my zone. All right, that's going to be my high of the zone there, and then anything that's low between the lowest point between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m., then I'm going to also draw my zone to the low side. So that's all I do, and basically that kind of helps me, when price get to those zones, that we can see some type of reaction. We can see a rejection, or we can see a break and retest, and I like to trade off of these zones. And not only that, if it's if you're paying attention to the higher time frame, like the 4 hour and the daily, and what type of market structure you're in, like if you're in a uptrend or a downtrend, that can also help you determine where you should take the trade to off of these zones. All right, and then when it comes to the entries, I just break it down to the 5-minute chart. Okay, but let's go ahead and I want to show you guys what happened today. All right, what is this? This euro. Okay. So as you can see right here, let me also delete this up here, because this is, if I go to the 1 hour, let's go to the 1 hour. I'm going to show you guys. So usually I draw my zones, my highs and lows of the session. The red candle means that I'm in the U.S. session. The yellow candle means that I'm in the Asian session, and the green candle means that I'm in the London session. If you want to find these indicators, if you want to have your candles color coded, so that way you can know what session you're in. You can go to indicators on TradingView, right? And then you can type in Asia session, Asia session bar color. Now you will have to do this 3 times. You will have to click this 3 times. That way you can add this indicator 3 times on your chart. And then also, what you need to do is you need to go into the settings. Once you add this indicator 3 times, then you need to go into your settings, and you need to change the time. Like, for example, the U.S. session, Eastern Standard Time, I have it at 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So you're gonna have that. You'll have that colored colored red, and then go to the other one. Go to the settings. Have the other one to 3 a.m. to 8 to 7 a.m. Then you'll have that colored greens. You get the picture. But if you want to use this, if you want to have your candles color coded, that way you can know what type of session you're in, then that's the indicator that I use. But you're gonna have to use it 3 times on your chart. Okay. But anyways, let's get into this. All right. So over here, this is the previous U.S. session low. All right. This is the lowest point here. All right. I think the lowest point was at 11 a.m. All right. Or 12 p.m. Right. This is the lowest point of yesterday's U.S. session. So this is U.S. session, yesterday's low. Okay. What I usually do is I'll just go ahead and delete this. That way you can kind of see what I'm doing here. What I usually do is I go to the rectangle tool. I get the rectangle tool here, and what I like to do is I like to stretch it out a little bit, just a little bit, and I like to draw the zone from the wick to the body up. Okay, and that will give me my US session low zone there. Okay, and then I usually have the zone same color red for US session, and I also like to also drag it in the pass. I feel like I got to sneeze, but I also like to draw it in the pass to see if this zone is a strong zone. All right, because as you can see, we're getting some rejection over here, we're getting some rejection here, we're getting some rejection here, rejection here. All right, so once I see these rejections, right, that in the past, I'm seeing price has rejected the zone in the past, right? Then I know that this is a strong zone here. So once I do that, I break it down to the 5 minute. The 5 minute time frame is where I look for entries. Okay, and as you can see today, right? Today, this is one of the trades that I also took in agent session. But as you can see, price. What was this? This is 8 a.m. right here. This is 8 a.m. This is the 8 a. No, over here is 8 a.m. I think. Yeah, 8 a.m. is this counter here. All right. I don't know why it's not red, but 8 a.m. candle is here. All right. So basically, price came all the way down. Right. Came all the way back up and touched the previous U.S. session low, which I marked out on the hour chart, and we could have caught this whole move right here. If I go back to the 1 hour chart, remember, I drew this zone. This was my yesterday's previous U.S. session low. Remember, I draw this zone from the wick to the body. That's how I got my zone there. And we broke it down to the 5 minute. And if you were, getting ready to, look for trades, all you would do is just wait for price to pull back into the zone and either reject the zone or break and retest the zone. All right, depending on the higher time market structure. All right, and you could take that trade like that. All right, this is just a part of my strategy, guys. Remember, for a one-time fee of $500, you're gonna learn my trading strategy, and not only that, you're gonna be able to copy my trades automatically over to your account hands-free. Okay. So you could have waited for price to pull back into the zone and rejected the zone. I don't know if you guys can see this. This is kind of like a rejection. You got two rejection candle off of the zone. That tells you right there that price wants to go down or potentially wants to go down. Okay. So you could literally got in this trade, took the trade short, maybe right here, maybe. And you could have probably put your stop a little bit above the zone, and you could have just rolled it down to the bottom here and caught that trade. You see how easy that is? But one thing that you need to know is you need to know the higher time frame trend. Okay. Sometimes I take trades, against the higher time frame trend, but you really want to go with the trend. Okay. So if you go to the 4 hour here real quick, I go to the 4 hour. All right. You'll see that we're creating right now. We're creating lower lows and lower highs. As you can see here, we're creating lower low, lower high, lower low, and then this came back up there. You could have got in right there. If you know that price is creating lower lows and lower highs on the 4 hour, right? That gives you extra confirmation that whenever price came here, right? Whenever price, we'll delete this here. Whenever price pulled back up into the zone, that will give you extra confirmation that price wants to go down, because we are the 4 hour is telling you that it's creating bearish movements. It's creating lower highs and lower lows. So if the 4 hour is creating lower highs and lower lows, and you break it down to the 5 minute chart, right? Then you should be expecting price to continue the lower highs and lower lows. So whenever price pulled back into the zone here, These zones are like magnets. Once price pull back up and you see the rejection off of this zone here, you know that 4 hour, the daily, telling you that you should be selling, then just get in a downtrend, get in a sale because you see the rejection off of the 5 minute, and you're going with the higher time frame trend. That's the key, guys. You're going with the higher time frame trend. All right. Basically, you're checking the 4 hour, the daily, right, to see what type of trend you're in, and you're breaking it down to the 5 minute, and you're basically taking trades on the 5 minute time frame to go with the higher time frame trend. Make sense? If you guys are getting some value, let me know in the comment section, or reach out to me. Let me know, hey Andre, you're providing some value. Okay, so the 4 hour is telling me we're creating down movements. So we're creating lower highs and lower lows. If we go to the daily though, right, you'll also see that we're creating lower highs and lower lows. Right? You see this right here? Look at this. We're creating lower lows. This is that potential lower high here. Look at this. This could be price can come down here and create a potential lower low right there. Yeah, as you can see. So now we have the daily and the 4 hour telling us that we're creating lower highs and lower lows. We're creating bearish movements. It's a downtrend. The daily and the 4 hour telling us that we are in a downtrend. So when you go to the 1 hour and mark up your zones, right? When you go to the 1 hour and mark up your previous US session highs and lows, which I did right here, right? Remember, I marked up my zone here at the lowest point of yesterday's US session. All right, this is the lowest point. All right, I draw my zone from the wick to the body, and I draw it in the future, and I also draw it in the past to see if this zone has been also being rejected. What I mean by that, when I draw my zone back in the past, I like to see this. All right, I'm gonna show you guys what I like to see. Let me come back here. Let me come back here. We have let me get my drawing tool here. We got a rejection here. All right. Delete that. We got a rejection there. All right. Let me get out of this tool. We got, rejection here, kinda. And then we also have some rejection over here. So you see this? We got rejection over here. A major rejection. You see that long wick there? So that tell me, by me drawing my zone into the past, right? This tells me that this zone right here is a strong zone. It's not a weak zone, because prices have been rejecting this zone in the past. Okay, so whenever price comes back into the zone, you'll most likely see a rejection, or if it's strong, you'll most likely see a rejection. Okay. So that's why I like to draw my zone back in the past to see if price reject that level, that zone in the past. You can see some little small rejections here. You got a rejection here, rejection here. As you can see, price is kind of rejecting the zone here. Okay, so today, what I'm saying, if in the past price have been rejecting the zone, you'd have been waiting for price to pull back into the zone. And then if you saw this rejection candle, this 5-minute rejection candle here, you could have got in for a sale, because that zone is strong when it comes to price rejecting this area. Okay, so that's how I trade. It's not my full strategy. If you want to learn my full strategy when it comes to getting in trades and determining how to get in trades, but just reach out to me and say, Andre, I want to learn your strategy. And also, if you guys want to copy my trades, like I said, it's only a one-time fee of $500. Okay, so this is a trade that you could. Now, I didn't take this trade today, but you could have took this trade today. Okay, based on what I just showed you, drawing your previous days highs and lows, right? Looking at the higher time frame, like the 4 hour and the daily. And once price comes up into these zones, remember these zones, like I said, these zones are like magnets. Price likes to come back into these zones and either reject them or break and retest them. Okay. So yeah, so that's how you do that. Okay. Let me delete all this stuff here. Okay. Now, what I want to do now is I want to look for today's highs and lows. Okay. So today highs and lows, I think was this counter here. Let me delete that. Okay. Delete that there. Now I'm going to look for my highs and lows. I'm going to make this right here, like right here, my high there. This is today's U.S. session high and low. This is basically preparing me for tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow's U.S. session. Okay, so remember, what I like to do is I like to draw these zones from on the 1 hour chart. And as you can see, what I'm doing right here, this is the highest point of today's U.S. session, and I like to draw the zone back in the past. I want to see if price have rejected the zone in the past. And as you can see, look at this. Price came up into the zone and rejected. Y'all see that, right? Y'all see how powerful drawing these U.S. session highs and lows. Like, look at this. You could have took on this day. You could have took a trade here. Like it's simple. Like it's simple to catch these trades. And I like to also draw it even further. I like to see if price rejected this in the past. Look at this over here. You see back in the past, you see there was like a wick came and touched the zone and shot back up. It's this zone right here is very, very strong. Okay. So yeah, that's what I like to do. I like to look in the past and see if price rejected that zone in the past. Okay, which it did. It's kind of like the same U.S. session high from yesterday, but this is today's high and low. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm marking up today's highs and low of today's U.S. session. All right, and remember, I start my U.S. sessions at 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Some people start their U.S. sessions earlier. I like it started at 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Okay. Now I'm looking for today's U.S. session low. Okay, and as you can see here, this candle right here is today's U.S. session low. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and mark this up. I like to stretch it out a little bit, mark it up. That will give me my U.S. session low. Okay. And then I like to drag this in the past. Remember, I like to drag this in the past. Okay. And as you can see, there's a rejection here. As you can see, a long candle here, rejection. And you got some rejection here. So if I stretch it back down, you'll see that you got a rejection off of this candle here. So this zone is kind of like, this zone is kind of strong. Okay. You got some rejection here. As you can see, look at this. You got a rejection here. You see how powerful it is when it comes to drawing these U.S. session highs and lows. And it also depends on what pair you're trading. Of course, if you're trading like a pound pair, like a GBP pair, you want to mark up your London session highs and lows instead of U.S. session highs and lows. But you can also still draw your U.S. session lows on London pairs, GBP pairs. But so I got my U.S. session high and I got my U.S. session low. Remember, we're in a downtrend. All right. Remember, the 4 hour is telling us that we are in a downtrend. We're creating lower lows, right? Lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower high, lower low. Now, when it comes to tomorrow, I'm either looking for a price to pull back up into the zone here to create another lower low, or I'm looking for price to break this zone that we just created, pull back into the zone here, and then get in a sell. That's what I'm looking for. Okay? That's what I would be looking for in tomorrow's U.S. session. Because remember, I'm not looking for buys. I'm looking for sales because on the 4 hour and the daily is telling me that we are creating lower highs and lower lows. You got to know market structure. If you learn market structure, it'll make it easier for you to make money in the markets. Okay? So, all right. So I got my lower highs and I got my zones, U.S. session zones marked up on euro. Let's go to New Zealand. And we'll do the same thing. Okay. Oh yeah, I like to also draw my Fibonacci retracement. I made a video on that. Where I drew. I think I drew that Fibonacci on the 4 hour. As you can see, I like to draw my Fibonacci retracement on the daily, the 4 hour, and then sometimes I also do it on the 30 minute, 15 minute. But using the Fibonacci retracement is very, very, very helpful because you could have waited for price to come down into one of these levels, which it came here, and you could have probably looked for a position here to the upside. Okay, you could have looked for something like that, but we're not using the Fibonacci retracement tool right now. You can watch my previous video, which I explained how to use the Fibonacci retracement. Also, delete this here. Now, what I want to do now, I'm gonna just kind of delete some of this stuff. What I want to do now is I want to go to the 1 hour. Remember, I like to go to the 1 hour to draw my U.S. session highs and lows. Okay. So, let me just give you another example of what you could have did yesterday. Okay. So, remember, the red candles mean that I'm in the U.S. session. All right. The yellow candle means that I'm in the Asian session, and the green candle means that I'm in the London session. So yesterday's high and low of U.S. session was, I'm gonna draw the high here. I believe, yeah. This was yesterday's U.S. session high right here. Okay, this was yesterday's U.S. session high and low. Okay, as you can see, if I draw it back in the past, you will see price have rejected this zone that I'm drawing right now in the past. Okay. We got a rejection here. We got a rejection here. We also got some mini rejections here. Okay, so that lets me know that this is a strong zone here. Okay, and as you can see, price is coming in. This is current price right here. All right, this is current price. Prices look like it's coming in back into the zone here. So we might get another rejection, but we also remember you got to look at the 4 hour and the daily so you can know what type of market structure you're in. Okay, so that's yesterday's high right there, and then yesterday's low, right? Yesterday's low was here. So we draw that. Remember, I draw it from the wick to the body. All right, the wick to the body here, and you can draw it in the past there, and there you go. So now that was yesterday's high and low. Okay, now. Remember, I like to go to the 4 hour to see what type of trend we in, and look like we are in a downtrend. Okay, so 4 hours telling us that we are in a downtrend. We're kind of in an uptrend. I would say in a downtrend. Yeah, we're kind of in a downtrend. It's kind of messy here. I don't like to trade anything like that's that type of messy right there, but look like we're in a downtrend. Okay, so if we're in a downtrend, we should only be looking for sales. All right, we should only be looking for sales. So when tomorrow comes, right, when tomorrow's session comes, I'm either looking for a price the pull back up into this level here and here, or it all depends on what price is doing during London session and Asian session and London session. Or I'm looking for price to come down here, break this zone here, all right, pull back into the zone here and get in for a sale, all right. Or if price start to go up during Asian session and London session tonight, then price might come up here, or whatever. Once price, pulls back down here and pull back, then I can take a sale. I can take another sale position there. Okay. Also, you can also use previous session highs and low zones here, which you see right here. Also, I have a U.S. session low here. This is from previous days. You can also use this as that's if price is up around this area around tomorrow U.S. session. You can use previous U.S. session highs and low zones to take trades off of. Okay, so there's many scenarios that can play out. It all depends on where price is at that time. But you could take some sales there. You could take some sales here. You could take some sales here. Okay, I hope that makes sense. But let's draw today's highs and lows. Okay, I'm gonna delete that real quick. And today's highs and lows. What's today's high? Right here. This is today's high. All right, I'm gonna draw from the wick to the body. That will get me today's. Actually, this candle right here is the U.S. session high. Okay, so I can draw it from there. All right, and remember I like to draw it from the past. Like as you can see, you're getting rejection here. You're getting rejections here. Okay, so I'm seeing some major rejection off of the zone, off of today's secession U.S. session high, right? So there we go. I got my U.S. session high. So when tomorrow comes and price, either above it, if price is above it, I want to see price break it and then retest, or if price comes to my previous U.S. session highs and lows, then I can also take a sell here. And the reason why I'm looking for sales is because, remember, on the 4-hour and the daily, it's bearish. Hope that makes sense. Okay. And then today's U.S. session low is here. It was 9 a.m. today. That was U.S. session high right there. Low right there. Boom. Now I got my U.S. session low for today. I remember I like to draw it back in the past here. Okay. All right. So I got that. Now I'm all set for tomorrow's U.S. session. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the Japanese yen. All right, so what I'm going to do is here, I want to look for when it comes to the Japanese yen, I like to also draw my Asian session highs and lows, okay? So I want to draw my Asian session low here. And I have the zone as yellow here. And then I like to also draw it in the past. As you can see, there's some rejection off this level. Okay, so that's my Asian session low here. Okay, and then here, if the wick to the body is small, what I like to do is I like to just go ahead and just get the horizontal tool here, and then I'll just mark that as a low. But let me change the color here. That's going to be my U.S. session low there. So boom, that's going to be my U.S. session low there, and then my U.S. session high will be here. Okay, there we go. So draw that in the past, see if we get some rejection off of this. I'm seeing some rejection off of this zone, so that tells me that this is a good zone to trade off of. And like I said, ladies and gentlemen, once again, you want to also look at the 4-hour. You want to look at the 4-hour. All right, we're creating lower low, lower highs. Look like, yep, we're definitely creating lower lows. So got a lower low here, lower high, lower low. Now we want to see price pull back up into this U.S. session. I believe this is a U.S. session high here, right? And then we want to look for maybe a sale here, right? That's a scenario. That doesn't mean it's going to play out like that, but that's a scenario that we can look for. Okay. Or we can look for price to do something like this. Break this U.S. session low here, pull back, and do something like that. Okay, that's a scenario. So the 4 hour is telling us that we are bearish. Okay, and not only that, the daily is telling us that we are bearish. Okay, I can even draw like a Fibonacci retracement tool here to see, because you can also take these trades based off of higher time frame levels. All right, this 88.6 Fibonacci retracement level is a level that you could look for sales off of. Okay, you could have waited for price to pull back into one of these levels, the 78.6 or the 88.6, and you could have took a trade based off of that. All right, but we didn't take a trade off based off of that because we're not swing trading right now. We just want to know what type of trend, what type of market structure the 4 hour and the daily is creating. And in this case, we're creating lower lows, lower high, lower low. This is that potential lower high here to create a potential lower low. Okay, hope that makes sense. So now we know that the 4 hour and the daily is bearish, right? And we marked up our zones, right, on the 1 hour chart. Now we can start looking for trades on the 5 minute tomorrow. Okay, so tomorrow what I want to look for is I want to look for price again to either come up into the zone here and reject, or look for price to break this zone here and come back up in here and start going down. Okay, so yeah, I hope you guys are getting some value, guys. Like this is like simple market structure, but also you're drawing your US session highs and lows, and you're waiting for price to pull back up into the zone, and you're basically going with the higher time frames like the 4 hour and the daily. Okay, but this is not the full strategy now. Like if you really want the sauce, then you have to get in with me. All right, like I said, it's a one-time fee of $500. You will get access to my live trading sessions. You'll also get access to my training, and then also you'll be able to copy my trades automatically to your account hands-free. Okay, so we got our Japanese yen set up now. Let me delete all this stuff here. Okay. Now we're on the Swiss franc, okay? The Swiss futures, okay? Let me also delete this. All right. Delete that. Okay. Now, just to give you another example of what you could have did yesterday, you could have marked up your US session high and low from yesterday's session, which it was here. This was yesterday's high here. You could have dragged it there, right? This is like textbook, like this is crazy, like how this works. Like it's crazy. Now, if you'd have drew this, let's just pretend that this wasn't here. Like pretend that this wasn't here, and you would have marked up your U.S. session high zone right here from yesterday, and you would have dragged it, and then U.S. session came today, and you broke it down to the 5 minute. You could have took a trade right here. Right? You could have took a trade right here to the downside. Right here, off of the rejection. Put your stop loss a little bit above the zone here, and you could have just took a trade to the downside. Okay? Simple as that. Like it's like real simple, guys. Like real simple. You could have got almost a 2R on this move here. It's crazy. Like you just gotta pay attention to the higher time frame, because the higher time frame is gonna help you out too. Okay, so that was if you did this if you'd have marked this zone yesterday, but that was yesterday. Okay, and then this over here is today. You could have capitalized off of that trade from yesterday's high zone here. Okay, now we want to look for today's highs and lows, which is this. But when it comes to having a zone like this, I don't like to have my zone that big. So what I like to do is, since I'm marking up the zone on the 1 hour, I will break it down to the 30 minute and to make my zone a little bit smaller. Okay? So, and again, I like to draw my zones back in the past here. As you can see, I'm seeing a lot of rejection off of the zone here. So tomorrow, right? If tomorrow price can come back up into the zone tomorrow, then we can probably get in off. We can probably get in another sale here, but we have to also look at the higher time frames. Okay. Now I want to look for my U.S. session low of today. This is today's U.S. session low, and remember, I'm preparing myself for tomorrow's U.S. session. Okay, that's all I'm doing. Okay, as you can see, I'm drawing my zone here. There we go. Now, when tomorrow comes, all right, I'm gonna look at the higher time frame first here. That way we can kind of see what type of trend we're in. Go to the 4-hour here. We're definitely in a downtrend, all right? We're creating lower lows and lower highs here. We're creating, you know, lower low, lower high, lower low, and this could be that potential. This could be that potential lower high here to create a potential lower low here. But what I want to see tomorrow is I want to see price come down here, break and retest and pull back into the zone. That's what I want to see. It doesn't mean it's going to happen like that, but that's what I want to see. Okay. So the 4-hour is telling us that we should be selling, and even the daily is telling us that we should be selling. If I draw my Fibonacci retracement tool here, as you can see, this is the lowest point here. Created a low here, pull back. Look at how perfect. Like, y'all also got to learn how to use this Fibonacci retracement tool, because if you learn how to use this Fibonacci retracement tool, like, you could have, like, I mean, this is a daily chart now. It'll take some days. But if you're like swing trading, you could have literally waited for price to pull back into the 88.6, and then now you can expect. This doesn't mean it's gonna happen like this. Now you can expect 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can expect 4 to 5, or even 2 weeks worth of down movements. Because remember, this is a daily chart, so you can expect, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 5 to 6 days worth of bearish movements. Okay, so yeah, definitely check out my old video, my previous video that I did the other day about using the Fibonacci retracement. Okay, so so now that we know that we are in a downtrend on the 4-hour, the 4-hour and the daily is telling us that we're in a downtrend. We're creating lower highs and lower lows. Tomorrow we want to be looking for sales. All right, we want to be looking for sales. So again, we either want to look for something like this or something like this, or if price during London session or whatever comes up here, we want to wait for price to come and close back below here and then get in for a sale here. Or if I have because remember, sometimes you can use previous U.S. session highs and lows. Let me go back to the 1 hour. Let me see what was the last U.S. session high or low. So in this case, this was the previous. This was like this was 1, 2. This is 3 days ago. All right. This is 3 days ago. This is the U.S. session. Remember, the red candle lets me know that I'm in the that means this was in the U.S. session. So you can also trade off of previous U.S. session highs and lows. So depending on what prices, how price is moving during today's Asian session and London session, you can also take a trade right here. Because remember, we are in a downtrend, y'all. We are in a downtrend, so we want to be looking for sales, unless the 4-hour, unless the 4-hour do something like this right now at the moment, close above here, then we are in the uptrend. Okay, or since we are, let me see. You could use this, right? Low high, low. If price closes above here or here, then you could probably be like, definitely you can see that the market structure is changing. So now you can see that on the 4 hour is telling you that you're going back in the uptrend. All right, so hope that makes sense, y'all. But I'm gonna end this video here. I'm not gonna make this video too long. I'm gonna finish marking up my other pairs here. But I just want to make a real quick video to show you guys on, you know, what I'm looking at, how I'm looking at the higher time frames, how I'm breaking it down. And, you know, like I said, guys, if you want to learn my full strategy, which is going to put you in a position to make a lot of money, you can use this strategy to trade futures. You can use this strategy to trade Forex. And you can use this strategy to trade binary options and pocket options, okay? But if you guys want access to my training and you want to be able to copy my trades automatically over to your account, and you want to also be able to attend my live trading sessions where you can also take the same trades that I take and learn my strategy, it's only a one-time fee of $500, and you'll get access to all of that. Okay, so message me on Telegram if you're interested. If you're watching this on Instagram, just shoot me a DM and I'll get back to you. Take care, y'all.